Hi everyone. First of all, thank you for your presence. I will talk about Revitalize Your Software Stack, a deep dive into dependency updates with Renovate. This talk is kind of it's completing what Ricardo said on this meeting. So first of all, what is my name, right? My name is Rui Silva. I'm a full stack software engineer at xgeeks for the past 2 years, almost 3. It has been a wonderful journey for me. And also on my free time, I'm an open source developer. You can scan this QR code. It has my social media links and also xgeeks links like website, Twitter, or X. Instagram, and also it has an article that I wrote about Renovate and how to implement it on GitLab, because I won't take much. I won't focus on that, basically on the implementation. So, like every good presentation, we have the cliche quotes, right? For example, an investment in knowledge always pays the best interest. By Benjamin Franklin, and your knowledge becomes out of date as new technologies, languages, and environments are developed. I'm asking you if you already read this book, because I'm just starting. These quotes are from the 6th page, and I want to know that if I'm wasting my time or not. So, my second question for you: do you know what this is? No, it's not Ricardo's grandma. This is the best one public security service. They are having minor updates, and usually they do major updates after the church on Sunday. And why these young ladies do this and why you don't, right? I'm asking you why we don't have the habit of updating our dependency of our projects usually, all right? And this is probably the more important topics that not updating your dependency of your project will do. Security vulnerabilities, like Ricardo said, compatibility issues, performance degradation, lack of new features. An IT guy likes having new features, right? Bug persistency, and deprecated support and resources. So, and how can I see which vulnerabilities that my software has and what vulnerabilities my dependencies has? I'm now presenting to you CVE. Probably most of you know. This is the platform, the official platform. CVE means common vulnerabilities and exposures. And this website, it's like, I searched this like 1 month ago, and I searched for the key Kubernetes, and you see we have 246 vulnerabilities, not too much. And this is an example of the page that you are, from the details of one vulnerability. This is from Secret Store CIC driver. And you have like description, what it does, what it affects, the level, and what versions it affects. But also we have GitHub. GitHub is always copying something, and it has its own severity page where you can see the same description, the same levels, and it has more color, and it's prettier, right? And also you can filter by the languages that you are working on. But I'm asking you why you don't make your task of updating your dependencies. Sometimes you have compatibility concerns. I don't want to upgrade my dependencies because I'm afraid of breaking my beautiful code. have time and resource constraints, dependency chain complexity, risk aversion, and lack of awareness or priority. And everything has a solution besides that. And like for compatibility concerns, do tests. Time and resource constraints, reserve your time on a sprint. Dependency chain complexity, update as a routine. If you update as a routine, it will facilitate your job. Risk aversion to tests, don't be a cat, all right? Lack of awareness or priority, severity level helps you with that to establish which is important, which dependencies are important, and what you need to focus. So after this security stuff, that theoretical stuff, I ask you, and I'm begging you, to don't become this guy. Security is not an easy topic, and let's face it, it's important to have in mind that security is important. But all right, and you say to me, okay, dependency updates are important. I will check every day on my in my home or office, like 9 a.m. Okay, let's have a list of dependencies, and I will check. All right, it has a new dependency update. I will do it manually, but when you will code, all right? So automation. I'm the laziest person that I know, and automation helps me a lot because it does what I don't want to do. So be lazy, don't do it yourself. And I present to you Renovate. Renovate helps you with dependency management and updates. It helps you, basically, it automatically scans every time you want. You configure that. It scans your dependencies on your project, and it will check if there is any dependency update. And by doing this, it will open a new pull request, trigger your CI, run your tests, unit tests, end-to-end tests, smoke tests, and whatever. And it has a lot of configuration. This is one of the biggest things that I like on Renovate. It's the easiest configuration and how you can do it like you want. But you say to me, all right, there is Dependabot. Everyone knows Dependabot, right? From GitHub. And you can check, I didn't change anything. Dependabot has everything that Renovate has. The difference is configuration. And I'm not selling Renovate. You will feel that I'm selling Renovate. That's not good. I'm not gaining any commission about this presentation, all right? So let's compare them. Let's have a fair fight between them. And the first features, the most important features that I underline are this. But I will tell you the four ones that I want to tell you about. It's data sources, managers, platforms, and the dependency dashboard. All right. As you can see, Renovate has a lot of them. Actually, when I did this presentation, there was nothing like direct about this the comparison between those tools. But now Renovate has its own page. You can check it, and probably has a lot of description about each topic, all right? This is like a summary of it. So let's talk about each one of them, like a fast pace. This is auto-discover dependencies. This is a configuration for Dependabot. As you can see, I need to set each one of them. I like npm, Terraform, and also it doesn't have like auto-discover for each folder. I need to set, for example, I want to have multiple modules on my repository, so I need to set each one of them, like on this folder I want Terraform, on this folder I want Terraform, and you will have this. You won't only want to change the directory. All the other settings are the same. So why? So to do this on Renovate, how many lines do you think I can do it? Okay, let's bet. One right there. You said one, right? Okay. Yeah, one. One for schema, right? So completion, it's good. And the other, it's extends because they have a base configuration on their side, and you are telling, I want to extend their configuration. But you say to me, Rui, all right, but you are not being fair to us, and you are showing nothing. You are just showing a base configuration because it doesn't have these rules, like the reviewers, the updates that I'm trying to ignore, the patch updates, because I want to be spammed every day, and the pull request limit, right? So how many? How many lines? 4, right? Okay, 4. So this is the way they do it. I'm setting the reviewers, the patch, and the concurrency PR limit. Beautiful, right? And he has completion. So it's good. Besides that, as you can see, size doesn't matter, at least for me. Vulnerability scan. This is something that I will give it to you. Dependabot wins Renovate with this feature. Dependabot has, like you saw before, it has its own platform, the CVE dashboard, where you can check the vulnerabilities on your code. It has its own database, and it supports only 12, but it's more than Renovate, 12 packages for scanning. And Renovate also has one, but it's growing. From what I worked with Renovate, they easily catch a Dependabot on this. So it has a vulnerability scan for 9 packages. It supports 9 packages, and it uses an open source database for CVEs. And you can check Dependabot alerts on your project. You need to activate them. They are not activated by or enabled by default. You need to enable them, and you'll see the vulnerabilities that your code has. And probably you can automatically create a PR with it if it can. If it's like a peer dependency from your project, for example, you have a dependency and that dependency as a dependency, it won't update those peer dependencies by himself. You need to update your dependency to be able to mitigate this CVE, right? Data sources. Data sources are like where I can get the versions for my updates. You have npm, Go, Docker, and Maven. Yeah, but for those who saw The Office, this is Stanley, and Stanley is hard to entertain. So let's get to the funny stuff about Renovate. Renovate has a lot of data sources, like you saw in previous slides. You saw like it has like I'm going to go back. Sorry. Data sources from Renovate, it has 60, and Dependabot doesn't have this kind of concept on their side, because data sources for them are the dependencies. Like if I'm working with Node, I'm going to use Node to get my versions. If I'm using Docker, I'm going to use Docker Hub, for example. And there's a lot of change on this. Data source is where I'm getting my versions updates. And for Renovate, I can use, like, for example, Git, GitHub, whatever. Tags, for example, if I publish if I push a new tag to my repo, and I set on Renovate, all right, scan my dependency update based on the tags on this repo, it will update by himself by getting that tag. It also checks by, you can get the version from Git releases, you can get for your AWS machine images, for example, to update the base images on your Kubernetes cluster. AWS RDS, for example, Postgres images, like the version himself. It scans on Helm charts. If you have, for example, a version of your image defined on your Helm chart, it will scan your Helm chart and update on that. And custom. Everyone likes custom configuration, right? Custom configuration. For example, I can get my versions from an API request. I can create by myself an API endpoint. This is not me, but I can create myself an API endpoint to share my. Imagine that you have a known, your own chart or Helm chart repository, and you publish a new version. You can have an API to expose what versions that you have, and you can use it from your configuration. And also, Renovate has a lot of template functions that helps you to manage and search for the response from that API request. And this is the base response that is Renovate search for and handles by that. Releases that has an array of versions, and if you set it like this, it will catch your new version. But all right, this is only a data source, but how can I use it really? Because this is just configuring where I can search for, but I'm not using it and where I can use it. So it has custom managers. A custom manager, it only supports by now the reject one, and I set custom type rejects, and I set the file match, for example, YAML, probably DevOps only write YAML and bash. You set a match string that is a reject string that will try to get, it groups, it tries to catch the current version, and it will compare from what your data source is returning. And if it's different, it will upgrade it, and it will create a pull request, and with this update, all right? And you set your data source that you are trying to use by using the data source template, and you set custom.k3s. That was the name of my custom data source. But yeah, this is a small one where I set on my GitLab CI, and I have a variable with my node version, and I used a data source template like Docker, because it was an already created Docker, data source. I didn't need to create it, and I just set dep name. It's the dependency name template with node, and it will search automatically on Docker Hub for the node dependency and to upgrade the image. So platforms. Platforms is where I can run Renovate and I can run GitHub. Renovate, all right, can run on Azure Cloud, Bitbucket. It's on experimental AWS code commit, Gitya, GitHub, GitLab, and you can use it on locally using Docker. And also on using Docker, you can validate your configuration locally. For example, you have locally or on your CI, you can, on each change of your configuration, you can run your CI to check the validates your configuration and allows you to merge or not. Dependabot can run on GitHub and only GitHub. That sucks, right? this is the feature that I didn't know that I wanted, but it helps a lot. This is Renovate brings you a dependency dashboard where you can check multiple things, like which PRs are being opened, because you have the limit that I showed you before on the configuration, and this is the limit. You are always reminded that Renovate. Okay, I scanned this. I want to open a PR on this, and it gives you a list of it. There's another section that is the open PRs that it has already opened, and one of the things that I like the most is the detected dependencies. This is a collapsible, and if you open it, it will show you each dependency that it found, each version that it found. And for example, I have a file from Terraform that I use multiple modules from AWS, for example. It will tell you that I'm using this module and this file, this version, another module with this version, and will collapse in a way that it's easy to check on each file, all right? And you can check, for example, you will see, okay, I created a custom manager that is a regex. I run Renovate, and on this dashboard you will see if it's getting your dependency and getting the right version. And for example, you are trying to update your dependency based on a private repository, on a private registry from Docker. It will tell you, okay, I'm trying and getting the new version. If it don't, for example, you don't have configured the authentication on to access your registry, it will warn you here, like, okay, I tried so hard and got so far. I tried it and I got an error on this run, on this, trying to get this dependency. And the thing that I like the most on Renovate is centralized configuration. You don't like to copy and paste your code. All right, let's reuse it. Imagine that you are on an organization and you have 80 repositories, right? 80 projects. It's easy to have that. And you don't want to copy my configuration because it will be the same, right? So centralized provides you, Renovate provides you a centralized configuration. Dependable, no, don't. So, and you just need to use centralized configuration, you just need to have self-hosted Renovate. You create your base configuration, you set your repositories that you want to run Renovate, you schedule your pipeline, and just be happy. Self-hosted Renovate is not what you're thinking about. I'm not creating an EC2 on AWS, put my Renovate on there, and I will pay for that. It's not that. So I'm showing auto-configure on GitHub, and this is how I can do it. I create a schedule pipeline on a workflow on GitHub to run whatever, and I just use their action on GitHub to run that version. I have a token to have access to the other repositories. I set my configuration file, that is my base one, and whatever. You can use like configurations or environment variables. Let's say that you can use like, okay, I do have this configuration, but I allow my other repos to have their own. So it will merge it, and if they have another settings for the same settings that I'm using, it will overwrite it because it's their own repository. But if you don't, it's not mandatory to use and to have a configuration, a base configuration on each repo. But all right, this is easy because it's an action, right? GitHub It's really cool about actions, but you don't know what it does below it. So I set a print. Like I said on the beginning, this QR code. It's an article about how to implement Renovate using GitLab, and this is it. You run the Docker image from their site. They have one available. You set some configurations. You set some tokens. For example, you see here GitHub.com token. This is not mandatory. This is for getting the release notes. It will create a PR with the release notes. And also, with a token from GitHub, you won't have rate limiter API calls. So this is a good thing. And they explained that on their site. I created a schedule, and I just run my script with extra flags that I'm doing above, not using here, but because I'm not using here because you can set on your configuration file, it will work by itself. And you ask me, all right, what is the best scenario with this? And I tell you that why not both? Let's use Renovate for dependency updates, auto-discover dependencies, the centralized configuration, and data sources and managers, because it has a lot more, and you have the opportunity to create custom data sources and managers. And of course, let's use depend-upon vulnerability scan feature because it's better for now. And with this, everyone is happy. And thank you, guys. This is it. Any questions? Any question, guys? All right.
I was just wondering, how does this handle transitive dependencies? Because one of the biggest problems I know with updating dependencies is not updating that dependency, it's the chain that goes behind it. If it requires something else, it'll start breaking or, conflicting with other dependencies that you have which don't need to be updated. And then it kind of ends up spiraling into hours of trying to figure out, the right chain.
Yeah, I understand you. That's why I try to underline those topics. That is tests. Tests are very important. So basically, if a new version it's deployed and published, you can update your dependency, but it will break another ones. But once that happen, your CI, your steps of testing will break, and you will be alerted about that, and you will stand by that PR. If you don't don't have the confidence about updating that or merging that PR, you can close it and Renovate. When it runs again, it will comment your PR that, all right, you close this PR. I won't annoy you about this anymore because you closed it. All right. But yeah, tests your CI pipeline. A good pipeline will tell you if it breaks or not.
Cool. Thank you.
Another one. All right, guys. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you. So, guys, the pizzas are a little bit delayed, but they are almost here. So, start networking a little, drink a beer, some snacks, and yeah, thank you for coming, and see you in next meetup. Thank you, guys.